everybody! So Sally and I are here today to do our August wrap up.
Yes.
It is already the end of summer. Can't believe it.
Yeah, this summer really disappeared, but I had a pretty good reading summer, I would say.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So let's share a few of the things that we read during the month of August.
The first one I read is the only middle grade book that I'm going to be talking about today, and that is Wundersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow. Book 2 in the Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend. It has been on my TBR list since the moment it came out, and I'm so happy to say it is every bit as fabulous as the first book. It had been quite a while since I had read Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow, so I actually listened to book 1 while I was reading book 2, which sounds like it would be super confusing, but it actually helped me remember everything that had gone on in the world already. Yeah, it just picked up right where the world had left off. Morrigan has passed her trials and has moved on to the next stage of the Wondrous Society training, and it was just fantastic. I can't wait for book 3. It has relit my burning love for this series. I'm just such a massive Jessica Townsend fan. Go read this if you haven't already.
So first up, I have Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. Now this is one that I'm going to find a little bit difficult to talk about in this wrap-up because I do feel that reading the synopsis for this will kind of spoil some of the things from the Raven Cycle, and I love the Raven Cycle and I want you to read it if you haven't read it yet so you can read Call Down the Hawk. What I will say is that this is about the character Ronan Lynch, who is one of the Raven boys, and Ronan is a dreamer, and Ronan, that means he can take things out of his dreams. I was really nervous to read this book because I absolutely love the Raven Cycle, and believe it or not, Ronan was my least favorite of the Raven boys, even though he's a lot of other people's favorite character in that series, but for me he just wasn't my favorite. So I was really nervous that this book wasn't going to be for me. I don't tend to navigate towards like the bad boy characters, but I am so relieved to say that this book absolutely blew away my expectations. It was such an engrossing read. I think Maggie did a really good job at continuing this world. I will say that I don't think you should read this book if you haven't read the Raven Cycle. I feel like you would just miss out on so much information because they do reference the characters from that book quite a lot, and there are characters from the book in this book. So again, I'm sorry I couldn't give you much more of a synopsis other than the fact that I absolutely loved it, and I cannot wait for you guys to get your hands on this one soon too.
Next up is Recursion by Blake Crouch. This is the second Blake Crouch book that I have read this year. The first one, funnily enough, will probably be on my worst reads of the year, but this one I loved. It is an adult sci-fi thriller all about memory. The story switches perspectives between two of the main characters. The first one is a New York cop who in the first chapter gets called to a case where there's been a new instance of something called false memory syndrome. It's this new psychological thing that is sort of starting to grow in frequency, and no one knows what it is or why it started. But everyone is very freaked out by it. And then our other main character is a neuroscientist who is approached by a very wealthy funder who says that she can have unlimited research money for a project that she's working on, it's like she's building a chair that will help preserve memories. I was legitimately surprised at the places that this story went. I won't say anymore because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody. But if you are an adult sci-fi fan, or you're looking to dip your toes into sci-fi, because I am quite new to the genre, check this one out.
Next up, I have Forbidden by Tabitha Suzuma. This is a book that Karina has been bugging me to read for literally years, and I finally picked it up. This is a UK YA book that is about sibling incest, which sounds like a very difficult topic to read about, which it is, but I really want to say that this book is phenomenally written. It is about siblings Locan and Maya, who are older teens, and they have basically been left to take care of their 3 younger siblings as their father is out of the picture, and their alcoholic mother is a very flaky figure in their lives, and she can't be relied on to take care of them. So you do end up understanding why the relationship between these 2 siblings comes about, as they have been left in this situation where they're kind of acting as a mom and a dad towards 3 younger siblings. It is hard-hitting, it is heartbreaking, as obviously this is a situation that could never turn out well, but it is a fantastic story. I do highly recommend it, but it is a tough one to get through.
And my last one this month is Codename Villanelle by Luke Jennings. This is the book that the series Killing Eve is based on. I actually watched the show first, and then found this at the library. I loved the show and was kind of like, I may as well read the source material as well. I always like a good mystery thriller. But I was so impressed at how they really are 2 distinct entities. The show is fantastic. The book is incredible source material, but it's really a story of its own. There's a lot of differences between the 2. What both of the stories do have in common are the 2 main characters. So there is Villanelle, which is a code name. She is a sociopathic young Russian woman who is basically discovered and taken out of jail in order to be trained as an assassin. And Eve Pilastri, who is sort of an underling but works at MI5 in London. It's just this fantastic sort of cat and mouse story of obsession and crime and murder and just putting all the pieces together as they sort of chase each other. I highly recommend you both read and watch this series.
And last but not least, I have If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This is a fantastic adult dark academia book that I saw Tess from Paperback Bones over on Instagram recommend a few times, and it sounded like something that might be up my alley, so of course I ran to the library and picked it up, and she was not wrong. This book is absolutely fantastic. It starts off with a man named Oliver who has just gotten out of jail after 10 years, and he is telling his story to a retired constable about what really happened that made him end up there. As he's telling the story, it flashes back to his days at this elite artistic college where he and 6 other students are the only upperclassmen. And their lives are dedicated to performing Shakespeare. They have very set roles in the plays, like there is, you know, the lead and the villain and the side character and the muse. Like they all have their very dedicated places both in the plays and in their situation at college. And the situation turns dark and dangerous and threatening, and something happens that ends up with Oliver in jail. It is such a wonderfully told story. It's just so intriguing and engrossing. There's like it really explores the deepness of friendships at this age, and just like the deepness, the depths of emotion you can be feeling, and this kind of coming of age situation. I will say it is quite heavy on the Shakespeare. Characters will often talk to each other by quoting Shakespeare, so I do recommend that you have at least like a bit of a knowledge of Shakespeare. I've read quite a few Shakespeare plays, and I'm not by any means an expert on the subject, but I found it was okay. But maybe if you're completely unfamiliar, it might be a bit jarring. That said, if you like stories like The Secret History or even Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, I think this one could be of interest to you. Fantastically written. Highly recommend.
So those were just a few of our favorite summer reads from 2019. I technically cheated a little bit because there was one I loved so much, but I actually finished it in July.
Okay.
That I snuck in this one. So summer reads. We always love to hear what you have been reading, so please leave those in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe for more bookish videos every week. Happy reading and thanks for being awesome.
Bye.
Bye.